Hello and welcome to Breaking Bread with Rivaaj Maharaj, where nothing is off the table. For today's episode, I wanted to talk about the current situation in Iran and the breaking news coming out of Iran regarding a deal with the Trump administration. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, we know that Donald Trump has said that a regime change in Iran would be good for the Iranian people.
And as he headed to Air Force One following his speech, he made his most pessimistic remarks yet on negotiating with Iran over its nuclear program.
So far they do a lot of talking and no action.
When are those talks, Mr. President? When are those
They've
talks?
already started.
Do you want regime change in Iran?
Well, it seems like that would be the best thing that could happen.
However, there's a story coming out of Iran that's doing the rounds, and I'll read you some points from an article in CNBC. The article is entitled, Iran says potential energy, mining and aircraft deals are on the table in talks with the US. So this is incredible, because the Iranians, if they're successful with this, number one, the war won't go ahead. Number two, they've identified and analyzed Donald Trump right down to a T. Donald Trump is a businessman. He'll do business with the devil as long as the American nation can benefit in some way. Now, I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying they've managed to look at this and say, maybe we can turn this around. And incidentally, it's something else that I believe that has been going on, because I always said that I think the Russians and the Americans, the Russians and Donald Trump had prior meetings to him becoming the President of the United States of America for the second term. And I believe deals were done, and that is why you see the softening of the stance, the United States stance on Ukraine. Because I think that when all the dust settles, the Russians and the Americans will be doing business together in not only Russia but in Ukraine. And this is why you see Callas and Starmer and Merz and Macron and von der Leyen all panicking and trying to be all, blustery and, create this discord. And it's because they've invested a lot of money. They were unwilling to sit down and do a deal, unwilling to follow the Americans in a negotiated settlement with the Ukrainians and the Russians. And now they're being left out. So when the dust settles, Europe will be sitting with a bill that it has footed in Ukraine. It'll get nothing in return, and the American administration together with the Russians will do deals where the American economy and the Russian economy will benefit, and the Europeans will be sitting like sour grapes on the outside looking in. And this is something they've realized, and that is why they're continuing to push for this war to continue, because they want a seat at the table. But their belligerence has made sure that they do not get that seat at the table. And now, like little kids in a preschool, they're upset, and this is how they behave. They're having hissy fits. And I think the Iranians have taken a cue from the Russian playbook, because doing a deal with mining, aircraft deals, basically the Iranian regime is saying, let's do commerce together. That's like music to Donald Trump's ears. So let's have a look at what this article says briefly. Iran is pursuing a nuclear agreement with the US that delivers economic benefits for both sides. An Iranian diplomat was reported as saying on Sunday, days before a second round of talks between Tehran and Washington. Iran and the US renewed negotiations earlier this month to tackle their decades-long dispute over Tehran's nuclear program and avert a new military confrontation. The US has dispatched a second aircraft carrier to the region and is preparing for the possibility of a sustained military campaign if the talks do not succeed, US officials have told Reuters. So, I know that there are those within the Trump administration that are pushing for war with Iran. I know the Israelis would benefit from a war with Iran. We know that the Iranians are funding insurgencies, in they help fund insurgencies in Iraq, Syria. We know that they've got proxies that they are backing around the world. So the slate on both sides is not 100% clean. However, Trump is sending the second aircraft carrier to the region. That is as a backup. I still think that Trump will go to war with Iran. And I think what's going to happen, if you look at it, Pahlavi has now been to meet Zelensky. The guy that the Israelis want to head the new Iranian regime is Pahlavi, the son of the late Shah. Now, I don't believe he has the charisma or the aptitude to run an administration. However, he's been thrust into the limelight, and of everybody on the planet that they could have had him go and meet, they send this Iranian man to go and meet Volodymyr Zelensky. One of the biggest losers in the world and in geopolitics. Why you would do that, I don't know. It would have been easier to send him to go and meet Maduro, who's sitting in prison in the United States. That would have made more sense. But Zelensky? You're joking. Nevertheless, I know that so it seems that the Iranians are playing to Trump's ear. What I suspect may happen here is that Trump will do a deal with an incoming incumbent into Iranian politics, and somebody who is prepared to give him a better deal in Iran than the one that is offered by the current regime, and that will solidify his reasons for going to war with Iran. So I think unless Trump gets a better deal with somebody new that will take over Iran, then I think war with Iran is on the cards, because Trump may use this back and forth negotiations to bolster his strength in the region, and then he'll go for the coup de grace with Iran. So it's interesting times ahead. We're going to keep an eye on this, but thank you for spending time with us. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Please remember to like, share and subscribe, as it helps us with the algorithm and it helps our channel to grow.